Hello everyone, Silver Contrail here, and I am on my test world for Feed the Beast. I'm still playing the point .8 version of the 1.5.2 beta with GregTech, and I got an email, well, a Facebook message, which of course goes to my email, from a user named Multi-Pokemon Battles, and he asked me to go over Applied Energistics, a very important mod in Feed the Beast, and a mod that a lot of people have it's become a lot more popular. I'll say that much. It's become, I think, the replacement to Buildcraft pipe systems that people have had in the past. If you've watched Feed the Beast, maybe Let's Players who are still playing on the Minecraft pack, you can tell that these huge systems that they have, they're all hooked up with Buildcraft pipes that just go every direction, and they're filtering and they're doing all these things. Those systems are all obsolete because Applied Energistics does all that about 1,000,000 times better. It's a little bit more expensive. Well, I guess if you're making diamond pipes, that's pretty expensive. Um, I guess it's a little bit more expensive on a large scale, but what it does is so much better. And as a medium game or a mid game option, even you can even do stuff with this in the early game. It's just amazing. And so I wanted to clarify some things. Specifically, Multi-Pokemon Battles wanted to see how to set up a large-scale auto-crafting system. And I'll kind of go over the basics of that in this video, and everything starts with this block. This is called the ME controller. In fact, I'll disable my NEI, don't need that right now. If you go to just search Applied Energistics on the internet, you'll come to a web page for it. It's got all the crafting recipes on there. Otherwise, you can check out the wiki, which has all those recipes. I won't go over those just because they're out there. So, the ME controller, I do believe, does require a single diamond to make, but most of the rest of the stuff doesn't require a diamond. So anyways, yeah, the controller is your central unit for a network, and a network is any set of connected Applied Energistics machines, and all of the things that they're attached to. So the controller is the centerpiece of our network, and it requires power. Right now it's not getting any power at all, and we're going to power it using this Ultimate Hybrid solar panel, which gets power from the sunlight at a rate of 512 EU per tick. Now this is overkill for this system. I do not need anywhere near this much energy. This thing, I believe, holds 1,000,000 EU. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, I'm counting zeros. Yeah, it holds 1,000,000 EU. This thing right now is using about, I think, 3 EU per tick, and this is creating 512 EU per tick. So, yeah, we don't need that much energy, but we'll just use it for the example since we're in creative mode. You can power this thing with EU or MJs. It doesn't really matter. There's a different conversion process for each of them, but it ends up being roughly the same. So if you want to hook it up to some magnetic engines, you can go ahead and do that, or you can hook it up to steam power, whatever it happens to be. It should work. So we've got the basic controller here. Now anything we attach to this controller is going to be considered part of the same network. We only need one controller per network, but we do need this guy because he's going to power our whole network. And in fact, the more things we start to attach to it, the more energy it's going to start drawing. So we'll jump over to our Applied Energistics Creative Mode tab, and we've got a lot of things in here. I guess there are larger tabs, but so we want to use the ME covered cable, and this basically allows us to connect pieces of our network together. So as we add cable, you can see it shows up here, and we'll start to use more energy per tick. Right now it's not a big deal, because I'm only adding some cable. It doesn't really draw a lot. But if I added a bunch of cable, it might go up a little bit. But it's going to go up some once we start attaching things. And the first thing we're going to attach, and I'll actually just place this right over here, is the ME drive. And then we're going to put down an ME access terminal. So the ME access terminal allows us to access all the items and all the crafting recipes on our network. We don't have anything in our network right now, because we don't have anything stored in here. There's different ways to store stuff. The ME drive is probably my favorite. What you do is you get a storage cell, and then you put it in here, a storage drive disk. Very similar to like a floppy disk, I guess. And then, what's this? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, like I said, there's been some changes since I've done this. I haven't really messed with it. But most of it stays the same. So now if we access our ME terminal, we can see all the items that are on that storage disk. There aren't any right now. The storage disks hold data as bytes, and they hold up to 64 types of items. And then basically, this one can hold 64,000 items, 64 specific types of them though. So you can put 64,000 cobblestone in here, but you can't put more than 64 items in here. So that's something to watch out for. But if we want to put some items in here, we can. We can put, let's see, come here. There we go. Some fitted quarry stone. Now it's in their network, and it's actually in here. You can see that I've used up one of 64 types. This is stored in this disk. If I pull this disk out, come here. There we go. Suddenly all my stuff is gone. So yeah, we're storing items on disks. The basic idea behind Applied Energistics is you store items as data and not as physical objects. If you look at stuff like Buildcraft, it's moving those items down pipes like they're physical objects. But Applied Energistics doesn't do that. If you cut the cable, you're just disconnecting the network. You're not suddenly spewing items all over the place because they're stored as data. They're not items anymore. So the next step, of course, is to do things with our items, and we're going to want to do a couple of different things. Moving our items in and out of the network is probably the most important next step. Once we can see our items and once we can store our items, we need to get them into the network, and we don't always want to do this by hand. It's kind of a pain. So one thing we can do to get items into our network is the ME export bus. Or, excuse me, import bus. Did I just throw down an export bus? I think I did. We want an import bus. So there are 3 types of buses: the storage bus, the export bus, and the import bus. The import bus takes items from inventories, so chests or machines that have inventories, and it pulls them into the network. Pretty simple. Let's grab a chest. We throw down this chest. Now what this guy is going to do is if I put any item in here, it is going to pull that into the network, and you'll see what happens in a second when I put this guy in here. Come here. Alright, there we go. Put it in. And there it goes. So we got pulled into the network. And now I have 2 fitted quarry stone in here. Another way we can do things is using the basic export bus. The basic export bus... Okay, they don't have tooltips. I thought they might have. Takes items in our network and pulls it out. And places them in inventories. Now, I'm curious how... Oh, okay. This does have a... Oh boy, sorry about that. My frames are dipping. This does have something a little specific. We need to put an item in here, and it's just a template item. And then it will fill the chest. It needs to know what sort of item to export into the chest. It won't just export everything. Again, they changed buses, and so we'll go over those in a second too. So the other thing we have here are, as soon as we tab over, we have the ME fuzzy export, ME fuzzy import, ME precision export, and ME precision import. Yeah. So we've got fuzzy and precision. The difference between these two is pretty simple, but let me just throw this guy down so we can take a look at this guy's UI, user interface. If you're familiar with the previous versions of Applied Energistics, this is basically the previous. It just lets you select a bunch of, actually 8 different items. You can move them as stacks of items. Move single item / craft. Huh, that's a new option. Always craft items. Cool. So yeah, those are some options we have. And again, we can pull off the same trick if we took these guys out, we put them back in the network, and then we go in here and we put the fitted quarry stone into the export bus. It would export those items only. The precision, those care about data values and damages. So if you need to send into your chest only gold swords with half durability, you'll want to use a precision export bus, and you can, if you put a gold sword in there with a certain level of durability, it will recognize that that sword needs to be the one that's sent. That's actually useful for nuclear power, but we don't really need to get into that right yet. So let's go to the next step, which would be, we don't really want basic. I guess keep the fuzzy. We want a fuzzy import. Kick you out, kick you out, kick you out, stick with you, and kick you out, kick you out. Okay, so that clears up our hotbar a little bit. So the next step is getting into the auto crafting idea, and that takes a couple of pieces. We need the ME pattern encoder, we need a blank an ME encoded pattern, and we also actually should go ahead and build our molecular assembler chamber. So the molecular assembler chamber is a oh, did I grab it? I guess I didn't grab it. Assembler containment wall. Alright, so the assembler here, molecular assembler chamber, which is always fun to say. We need a, no, we don't need a crafting CPU, we need a pattern provider. Again, you can look on the wiki and see how to build this. It's not too difficult. I tend to forget exactly what we need. We need a, not even encoder. Yes, this is what we need. Okay. And it's got to be built like this. It can be built larger, actually. Mouse wheel not cooperating with me. But there's certain patterns you want to... I didn't mean to click on that. There we go. Okay. So when you finish, it'll look nice. And then we just connect it to our network with a cable. And you can see that it pops up here. You show that we're using more energy now. As you can see, we've got more things connected. And we can see all the pieces that we're using. This guy has a bunch of options in here. And really, when you're starting off, this is fine for what your applications are probably going to be, unless you're already really developed. So do we have the pattern encoder? We do. Okay. Oh, I didn't mean to send that in. Let me grab that real quick. You don't need an Omni wrench. You can use the GregTech wrenches, and Applied Energistics has its own wrench. You can use that as well. I like using the Omni wrench. I think it looks cool. So we need pattern encoder, and we're going to stick you maybe... let's go right here. Are you connected? I don't even know if you're connected. I don't even know if this needs to be connected. Oh well. Okay, so the idea with the pattern encoder is that if we put a recipe in, we will get a pattern for that recipe. So we're going to do, let's just do stone, because that's really simple. Let's do stone. Actually, let's do furnaces. So we're going to craft a furnace. Okay, so basic furnace takes the 8 cobblestone. If we take this, and we put this in here, we're going to encode this. We're going to say, okay, if you take 8 cobblestone in this pattern, you can craft a furnace. Okay, so we'll clear out of that. And, of course, putting these items in here, they're just ghost items. They're not actually there. And then we're going to put this guy, as soon as my game catches up, in here. And it'll immediately turn into the item that it knows to craft. So, if we go in here, we can now see that we have a crafting option for our furnace. So, this is based on our view. There's a couple of different views we have. We can view only stored items, only items we can craft, and a combination of both. So what we're going to do is grab a stack of cobblestone, and we're going to put that in our network by hand, although we could import if we wanted to from another source. And now if I want to craft, I just say, hey, I want to craft one of these furnaces, or 2 of them, or 10 of them, however many I want, and we'll just craft, let's say, 2. Begin, crafts 1, and it crafts 2. So there, we got 2 furnaces. We didn't have to do any crafting ourselves. It just did it all for us. So if we want to queue up maybe 100 of these guys and we got a bunch of cobblestone, we can fill up this as much as we want, which is pretty cool in my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of the basic thing there. if we want to craft something, if we've got all the materials in here. But what happens if we don't have the materials we need in here? And that's where Applied Energistics gets crazy. This is kind of the automation part of things. And that has a lot to do with import-export buses and interfaces. So the next thing we'll probably want to look at is how do we get things to do what we want. And I'm going to hook up, let's see, what should we hook up? Let's do the stone idea. We're going to make a system that automatically crafts stone brick. Sure, let's do that. Okay, so we're going to need a couple of things. First of all, we're going to need an industrial craft electric furnace. We're going to need, oh, well, maybe we don't want the electric furnace. Let's get oh no, wait, that would work. Well, yeah, we'll get an electric furnace, and then we'll get an advanced solar panel, just to power it. We'll put this guy up 1, because we're going to want to get underneath it, I think. So electric furnace here, an advanced solar panel, which I think is fine. That's not going to make it blow up, right? See what happens. Nope, that's fine. Okay, so we are going to create a recipe that tells it that... Actually, we're going to set up the system so that anytime cobblestone gets put in the ME terminal, it's going to get sent to the electric furnace, it's going to be turned into stone, and it's going to be sent back to the network. And so we're going to do that using an import bus and an export bus. And we should have those on us, okay? So the first thing we need to do is export stone from our system. And we may need to... Different machines require different configurations for how this works, so you might have to toy around with it. Okay, let's do that. And we're going to tell it to export cobblestone. And you can see it immediately is turned on, and it's going to start filling up this top slot with those items, and it's going to start putting them in the side slot. So how do we get those items out? Pretty simply, we just put an import bus. So the import bus knows to import items out of there, and in fact we could use a basic import bus. I'll just keep using the fuzzy because we have it on hand. And now you can see all that stone is gone from the right side. This is because the import bus is picking it up and it's pulling it back into the system. So all of our cobblestone has already been put in there, and we're getting stone back. If we continue to put cobblestone in here, it can be continued to sent over to the furnace, turned into stone, and then sent back. This is kind of the basic idea of how to set up a large-scale processing network. If you want to automatically just send all your stuff off to some machine where it does all the work for you, you can do that. And it's pretty easy to do. But what if you don't want to do that? What if you want to have it set so that it only does things when you want them to? And that might be important because maybe you want to keep some cobblestone on hand. In this scenario, all of our cobblestone is going to get sent over to this machine. We could use a level emitter to control that, and you can look up a level emitter on your own. That's sort of more of an advanced topic. But what about actually auto-crafting? What if we want to create something on our own? Now, we definitely can use this stone and create stone bricks. So I'm going to grab another one of these. Actually, you know what? I'll just grab this guy. So grab this pattern out, go back to the encoder. We're going to put him here. Oh, we're going to... I thought you were able to... Oh, it probably just... You know what? That was kind of silly. Alright, so we'll grab 4 cobblestone, or 4 stone. Nope. Not what we wanted. And that's not what I want. Did I get it this time? Yes, I did. Maybe if my frame rate wasn't atrocious. Okay. So put these guys in here. I'm going to clear. And we're going to tell it now to craft 4 stone into 4 stone bricks every time we tell it to do the crafting. Okay, crafts 4 stone brick with 4 stone. Cool. Put this in here. So again, proof of concept, if we want to craft these guys, we just say, hey, craft one batch, and boom, there's 4 stone bricks immediately. Okay, so how we do the auto crafting, and this is where you can look at this. I'm going to show you how to do this, and you can kind of apply this, you can kind of extrapolate on it, basically. I'm going to show you the basic idea behind this whole system, and then you're going to go, oh, that makes a lot of sense, actually. So what we're going to do is going to break these guys, actually, probably just that one. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell the system to craft stone brick, even though we're not going to have any stone in here. We're only going to have cobblestone, but we're still going to be able to tell it to craft stone brick, and it's going to make the stone, and then it's going to make the stone brick. So we're going to put stone or cobblestone in here. Put a stack of it and take all the stone out. We'll take all the stone out of this guy too, or all the cobblestone at least. And oh, there's 1 stone in here. Pull that guy out. Okay, so how can we tell this machine, I want to craft, and I'll pull this out. I want to craft stone brick with cobblestone. Well, first we've got to teach it how to make stone. And that isn't too difficult. We're going to use another one of those crafting recipes, or encoded patterns. And then we're going to go to our, if we have it. Yes, we do. Okay, we're going to go here. And we're going to say that if we give you 1 cobblestone, you can turn that into a stone. There's no direct crafting recipe for this, but that's what we're going to tell it. By some process, it's going to be able to turn stone into, or cobblestone into stone. So how do we tell it what that process is? That's based on the ME interface. So we can attach the interface to this side of the machine here, and we can say, okay, if I put you in here, you're connected to the machine right here, so this guy. And he's going to know to export to that machine. And he's got 2 slots. The ME interface has 2 slots, the export config and exported items. The export config is where we're going to tell it to actually put the item in. So we're going to tell it, okay, I want you to export cobblestone to this machine. So it already says it's got the 1 cobblestone. It's ready to export when it needs to. There's nothing in the machine right now. But if I jump back over here, you can see that the crafting stone option is available to me. That's because it's in this machine over here. So I can craft things that aren't in my molecular assembler chamber as long as they're in this guy right here. If he's not connected to anything, that option will still appear, but obviously nothing will happen. So the trick is, I've got the interface, but I've got this here, and this is important. So now if I go to craft the stone brick, begin 1 batch, it knows that in order to make the stone brick, it needs stone. Because it knows how to make stone, it can make the stone. So we go over here, and we can see that the furnace has become red. It has received the 4 cobblestone it needs to make the 4 stone that we need to make the stone bricks. So that's how this whole system ends up working, is that you tell one machine how to make 1 piece of your crafting recipe, you tell another machine how to make the next piece, and we get our 4 stone bricks. And that's sort of the basic idea. Now, when using applied Energistics, you're going to be using it probably with industrial craft or with thermal expansion machines. You're going to be sending items to them, pulling them out. You can do things like crazy things. We've had a crafting recipe on our previous server, or an applied Energistics system that created gravisuits from scratch. Now it's a lot harder with the new GregTech stuff. The assembling machine and the plate bender is annoying, especially the assembling machine. It's just ridiculous. You're going to want to dedicate an assembling machine to every recipe. But otherwise, this is sort of the basic concept. You're going to be able to import items that you get from your quarries, from random chests, store them all on a network where you can access from anywhere, and you can store over a stack on here. I'm not sure if I showed that off. Like, I've got 74 cobblestone right there. Like, it doesn't care about stacks. When I say there's 64 unique items, that's the limit, not like 64 stacks of items, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to fill it up. But yeah, that's basically it. The interface is probably the most important block when you're interfacing with machines. You don't always have to use it. You can kind of use a level emitter. Again, look at that one online. But otherwise, that's about it. I mean, this is really just a quick crash course. How do you get auto crafting up and running? How do you import and export items? And it leaves it a little open-ended, so a little bit of room for experimentation. I don't want to show off everything. Like, I would suggest sitting down, messing with this whole interface machine, and then importing back to your system, and then look at stuff like how would you get it to work with an industrial grinder? How would you get it to work with maybe the more basic machine stuff like the macerator, the extractor, those things. You can hook those all up this way, and of course you can put more of these guys down here if you want. Like with a macerator, maybe you want to export an ore to it, and then those ores get sent back into your system as dust after they've been processed, and then those dusts automatically get sent to a furnace, which melts them into ingots. So that's at least something similar to what I would have. Automatically processing any ore that comes into the system is pretty nifty. But some stuff you're going to want to automatically run, like your ores perhaps. Like if you're getting iron ore from a quarry, you're probably just going to want to go ahead and send that automatically to a grinder of some sort. But for some things, you're not going to want to automatically process. Like you don't want to always just turn all your cobblestone into stone, because that's going to be a big, I guess, waste of energy, a waste of time, because you're going to get a lot of that. But there's a lot of other options. The last thing I didn't talk about was a storage bus. The storage bus treats any inventory that you attach it to as a part of the network. Because if I put, let's say, another storage bus in here, that storage bus will stay in this chest as a physical item, but I can access it from here, and if I pull it out of here, it disappears from the chest. So that's how that one works, and that's pretty cool. If you want to hook that up to maybe a deep storage unit, I would recommend that. But that's about it. Like I said, you're going to want to use some power here. The more you hook up, you're going to use more power. The recipes are all online, and I guess I'll link to the website in the description. So I hope you guys like this video, and I hope multi-Pokemon battles, I answered your question. If I didn't, feel free to message me again. And as always, if you guys have a question about a video that I do, especially if it's Feed the Beast oriented and you're not sure how I did something, feel free to ask, and I can definitely make follow-up videos. I really like making videos about the technical aspects of especially mods. I think that's really cool. It's kind of neat to show this stuff off. So that's about it for me. Very, very short tutorial. I could do a follow-up with maybe some more advanced processing systems, but I'd like to leave this on its own video. So, yep. Until next time, then.